place has been declared World Heritage because of the importance. There is more than 450 archaeological sites in the route of the mine. But Guaya de Serena is the only one that shows how the farmers and commoners used to live. That's why it's so important. Then here we have one of the rocks that the volcano sent during the eruption. The same eruption that covered the site with 14 layers of ash. The name of the volcano is Loma Caldera. And according to the studies, this eruption happened between the 600s and 500s AD. Between those years is when this probably eruption was doing the explosion here. Then this site, like we see here, and he started to build silos. The silos we saw in the beginning of the road, those silos used to be here. But thanks to that, as he was about to build the third area of the silos, when the bulldozer that it was working here to level the land, it hit one of the structures. One of the ones looks like this. These are all different layers, and this is the structure that it hit. So this is when they stopped, and they saw like this little entrance. And they said, oh, there's something in here. And then they start the research for the site. And the research and the discovery and everything, we will see this in the other part of Honduras. And El Salvador, Copan, El Salvador. Because the same kind of ceramics were found in Copan. So this is how we make the map of Mesoamerica. The Copan, El Salvador. Now we put them Honduras and we put El Salvador. In this area, it was found under one of the beds in the area of the bedroom. That in here, it had some of the valuable things that they used to store, like jade and things like that. We have in the middle there, that big one, that is maguey, or the agave. Agave? The same plant where nowadays they make tequila out of this one. Mayas didn't. They had already another alcoholic drink, but they didn't use this for tequila. Now here's cacao or cocoa beans, chili peppers, and beans, black beans. All of this was found here, but now I'd like to ask you a question. That this wall is on the floor now, like this wall is just on the floor. So what this tells us is that they had an earthquake before the eruption, because it was found like that. It is not fault of the archaeologist. It's not his fault that it's on the floor. It was found like that. So that tells us they had a warning. So they said, okay, we have an earthquake. Achiote. It's A-C-H-O-I-O-T-E. Or it's known also as Big Saurellana or Anat. And they were using this, like here. Open it and you see inside there's some seeds. Nowadays we still use this for food coloring and for lipsticks also. You see.
Some countries people chewing.
We use it a lot. We season pork meat with this.
Oh.
Adobada. Carne adobada. It's been made pretty much with this. So very useful still.
Now because it's dry, it's hard to create the color, but when it's really red, it's soft and it's easy to do this. Like here, you see? They were use this for the red color. Never on your clothes. Okay? So never come up. Oh. This is how our crew will be working.
Looks like a certain kind of mushroom.
But sometimes we use this for food.
Oh.
Food.
I like Morocco though. How long ago you
Oh,
went
I
to
did.
Morocco?
I liked it.
How long ago did you go there?
It was like a year ago.
Oh.
That was my last.
Oh.
That was my
That was
last trip
her last
before this
trip.
one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did the OAT, of course, right?
Yes, yes,
No,
yes.
no, I was with Gate 1.
Yeah. And then the year before, I went to. Costa Rica.
That's it.
That was taken out from the archaeological research that was done in Copan ruins.
Is this open to see?
This is open. Let me check and see because you know how this Congress and all the like giving priority to the guys in the Congress, but I think this is gonna be an exception. Okay. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna walk around, take a slightly turn to the right, and then we're gonna come back up to the street that I like to. Here you have this is a souvenir there. Marketed. So they can sell it. You know, so they got to go out on the street and try to sell it to the tourists. Okay. This is like another small cafe in one.
Town. It started as San Jose de Copan, but it very quickly changed its name because there is another San Jose in the department or state we're in. So it got changed to Copan Ruinas. The town is called Copan Ruinas. The site is called the Ruins, not Copan. The Ruins. It's the ruins of the state of Copan, and we've known now for quite some time that in Maya time the name of the site was Shukup, which is the name of a bird in the area. You may have seen it in. You didn't see it in in El Salvador. It's the national bird of El Salvador. It's motmot, turquoise-browed motmot. That is what Copan was named after. Valley, believed to have been the merchants' quarters. Please. On the map, this area is within a much larger cultural area we call Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica extends up to the north to the desert areas of Mexico and to the south to the northern region of Costa Rica in Región Nicoya. This area within is considered to be the Maya region and is roughly 324,000 square kilometers. Subdivided in three, as you can see. We have the northern zone, central zone, southern zone. And we have in all areas over here, all periods of time present. We have pre-classic, classic, and post-classic sites throughout all this area. Back in Maya time, we used to say there was close to a million and a half Maya. Through this new Congress, I found out that there could have been anywhere between 10 million and 15 million Maya throughout the region. Nowadays, there's finding more evidence of settlements that actually were very populous, starting with this area over here, the area of Mirador. El Mirador is right now considered to be the largest area, the largest city in the Maya world. Mirador Basin has an enormous, an incalculable amount of sites and population that may have reached over 200,000 alone, just Mirador. Tikal, which is 130, 125,000 as their height. Copan down below, we used to say 30,000, 25, 30,000 people as their height. Be careful with the table coming through, please. Don't want to be hit with a table. Too early in the morning for that. We have also said that the area of the Maya that is considered to be the oldest, or where we consider the cradle of the Maya world, we would say this strip over here. We have found the oldest dates to the Maya in that area, right there, dating to 14 and 1500 BC. In Coban, which is the southmost city-state of the Maya, we have that we've got dates that date to 1400 BC, but they're not Maya then. Those are the first settlements in the valley. They may have come from the area of La Venta, Mexico. Another new find is that those people did not come out of there, that we went out of here, some say, depending on what archaeologist you believe. In this case, either way, we have evidence of some type of communication that dates anywhere between 6,000 and 1200 BC. That would be the time that these people actually come through and have any type of connection. We know that they not only came down through and populated the Pacific to Guatemala, Salvador, the western part of Honduras, they went also into the northern region and the central basin of the Maya area, which is mostly the area of Petén. The most important sites over here: Chichen Itza, Uxmal, Palenque, Yaxchilan. Bonampak is extremely important because of the murals. Tikal, Mirador, which is the largest, Calakmul is a flare, and this area over here has another large city called Rio Azul, and another site in this area over here known to be very important nowadays, considered to be the San Bartolo site. It's got beautiful murals that have been found in this area. Extremely important. We have found other sites also that are not as important, but definitely add to the population in the region. Most larger triangles around here were city-states, and these city-states had some type of dominance on the other cities around them. You had vassal cities, basically, to the larger cities in the area. And these people did interact. We know they knew about each other. We know that their city-states are not an empire. There was no one emperor in the area. Each city-state had its own kinship, and they basically warred and intermarried. Depending on what they wanted to do, feud, or if they wanted to ally with the others in order to have a larger extension of dominance or even a larger production area. Since this entire region is agriculturally oriented. Yeah? I'd like to show you the map. I'd like to tell you that this is the map of the valley. The map of the valley is very important because it tells us a story. It tells us the reason why these people fell in the region. Please notice, I've already told you that this is an agricultural nation. Yet, they take the basin of the valley and built their city on it. They took the best agricultural land and built their city on it. Bad city planning. Yeah. In this case, they settled their only water source, the river, creating problems in the area that go from the deforestation of the region for promotion of agricultural land, as well as settlement and contamination of their only water source. We know that by deforesting, they create other problems. Deforestation is just one, or the start, the igniter of all the problems. Since they deforested an area that was a good 10 kilometers radius all around, a 6-mile radius basically, from the downtown area. By doing that, they distort the climate in the region, creating a heat barrier in the valley that does not let rain clouds over. No rain, drought. Drought, famine. Famine, unrest. Unrest, social political problem no government wants to deal with. We believe that the first people to be affected by all this was the poor. They're the lower end of the stick. Unfortunately, in doing so, they create another problem. We have not a massive exodus of the poor population, but a trickle, which lasts through 100 years. And little by little, they create another problem, which is all chief, no Indian. You don't have a workforce. When that happens, the social system in the area, the class system dissolutes. But the city does not truly fall to that. It fell to the damage of the surroundings, the ecological surroundings. We know that the deforestation not only affected what I've told you now, but the protein intake, individual protein intake, was distorted. How so? Well, what is the best source of protein we have? Meat. Exactly, meat. Maya did not have any cattle. Therefore, all their meat had to have been hunting. Where do you hunt? Forest. If you don't have the forest, how do you get that protein? You do. You eat beans. Well, fish will be a good source of protein as long as the river's not contaminated or fished out. When you've reached the peak of population, this would have been knowing they use nets to fish. From there, we're going to go across, over, and then up into this area. This area is one of the two plazas that make up the raised, man-made mountain we know as the Acropolis. Number 4 is the western border temple construction plaza. You're going to see why they call it that. See Temple 11, Temple 16 over here. Altar Q. Altar Q, let alone is the most important altar of Bhutan. It shows the dynastic sequence of Bhutan all around. It's a unique piece. Nowhere else in the Maya world do you see this. An entire dynasty in one nice overview of this area down below. Area number 6 is considered to be the cementerio area, or sepulturas area. Cemetery or sepulchre. The reason we call them that, although we know the residential, is because of the Mayan custom of burying their dead underneath the doorstep. So whenever you find residences, you're bound to find quite a few burials. And we're going to end up our visit in Plaza number 5 back here, Jaguar Plaza or Eastern Court. You see why they call it that. See temples 22 and 22A, which are the far corner temples of the Acropolis. Unfortunately, these temples at the very end are not there anymore. They fell to the river. The river used to run right next door over here. We actually pushed it now to its present course, which is seen on the map, because it was damaging the base of the Acropolis over here. All this we will see in roughly about 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay? He's here for other diplomatic services, serving as a guide for the other 2 residents are here. This is one of the points to visit when you're in a diplomatic visit. That and the fact that the Congress is here. He's basically using one stone, doing 3 things, trying to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Then he has to go and deliver titles, land titles, to the indigenous population, Mayan indigenous population of the area, who have been fighting for certain land for 20, 30 years, and he's just now coming to give them their title. It's a big thing, so he's basically doing it. Figured he was scheduled to come here 2 days ago. But he said, I'm going to wrap it all up in one blow. It's a type of kapok, like these are a type of kapoks also. You can see this one has got the pod open and the fluff coming out. This one's called a yellow buttercup or a cotton bell. This one grows to be extremely large and is considered to be the link between heavens and earth. This one is, in Maya myth, is supposed to hold the heavens in the limbs. Our trunk, or our world would be in the trunk, and the underworld would be in the roots. That is the myth behind the tree. The reason it's in chains is because Princess Sayako of Japan planted this tree over here in 2003. You know the blackberries at the end of the tree? We'll take them, we'll crush them, we'll put them in water, we'll boil them and make tea out of them. If it's a severe case of that, we go to the bark and take the chunk off the bark, trying to get a little bit of the sap in there. The sap is got whatever is concentrated in the sap, so it's even better. But if you do that, it has to be very, very important because, or very severe case because you can forget about being regular for a while. The reason I'm mentioning this is because we know that cholera was present in Maya time here. Having cholera would have been a problem because you don't want to stop the bacteria in your body. You want to flush it out. This is so effective that it will stop you. But only those that were well nourished would have been able to subsist cholera disease if they stopped it in their body. But we know that a lot of people died too. You need to be higher and in a clouded forest setting. Costa Rica has some, but you don't see much of them. You see more here and in Guatemala.
We can't ignore them.
All the religious buildings were painted in the colors of the macaw, which were also considered to be the colors of life. Come on down this way. Lunch, I should say. Back in Maya time, one of the sources of protein in the area. We have found the trash bins of the Maya kitchens where they show this bone quite regularly. Yes. It's a Dexitrota punctata. That's Central American agouti. I hope you noticed that you came in through one of the roads into the plaza. There's another one on the other side. They were raised paved roads that got done in order to walk masses, enormous masses, into the area. Notice this is an amphitheater back here. See? And it was also paved in order to roll in the stones. All these stone that you see standing are one chunk of stone that weighed anywhere between 4 and 10 tons, depending on the piece. The tonnage used, or the tonnage moved, would warrant rollers, wooden rollers, and a flat surface to be pushed over. They did not use the wheel or axle, even though nowadays we know they knew about it, since we have found wheeled toys that show a wheel and axle. Why did they not use the 22? Because that's the last inscription in stone we have. That would be, you see where the gentleman in the hat and up on the hill, on the little knoll is? And right above them, you have a square altar. The square altar is the last inscription in stone, done by a 17th ruler to be, and unfortunately does not finish it. So we don't give him a ruler's title. It says that he was in the process of getting, of making his first altar and didn't even finish it. So he was not a very good king, or didn't have the power to rule at that time. So once being a writing nation, stopping to do so would have been a step back in evolution. And that's why we say that's when they collapse. There's many people that have come through the area since that fall. But most importantly, we would say the first to find, the Spaniards, they came here in 1576. Don Diego Garcia de Palacios found the place, wrote back to the King of Spain, Philip II at the time, and told about stone carvings he had found off La Civilization. Not to bore you with a long story, King of Spain wrote back. Basically 6 words. There's no gold, leave it alone. Probably the best thing that could have happened to us. Now we'd be seeing this elsewhere. Knowing that we are classic, during the classic period between 200 and 900 AD, the sites or the people that rose and fell in that area were Stone Age. No metallurgic or no metallurgy was done in that time. Therefore, they wouldn't have found any gold in the area. Having said that, I will tell you that we did find 2 golden feet in front of one of these stela back in 1968, stolen off the small museum in town in 1974. Unfortunate. But we had done the analysis of the gold. The ore itself came from Panama, Colombia, telling us that there was some type of communication through the isthmus. And we find also that The forging of these feet is Yucatecan. Yucatecan. So that ore must have traveled from that area down below to the area up above and then come back down. For those facts to be true, that could have taken place after 1250 AD. Why? It's the time when Yucatan becomes metallurgic and the time when the Chibcha native of Colombia enters, the great gold worker of Colombia, enters the area this ore came from. So knowing those things, we can say that Copan has always been a point of pilgrimage, a pilgrimage stop. Most of these things would have been brought through pilgrimage. Today, we are still a pilgrimage site. We still have Mayan women and men that come from Guatemala, Mexico, and on 2-3 times a year come and do their ceremonies for Moon, Venus, and Sun in this site today. We've had many other people come through, most importantly an American and a Brit. They come here in 1839, Stevens and Catherwood. They come here, bought Copan for 50 bucks, and unfortunately, 50 bucks were 50 bucks back then, went a long way. Unfortunately, they only worked here for 29 days. The person who sold it to them was not the original owner, for one, and they got into a little beef with the local warlord of the area. So they actually kind of walked out and left the area alone. They work here, do some drawings, and publish the things that they found here. They not only publish things that they found here, but in 44 other sites. And these books are called Incidents of Travels through Central America, Yucatan, and Chiapas. First copyright was in 1841. It's still being published today in 14 different languages because of the drawings Mr. Catherwood did. They're very, very good, and to us are probably the best reference we have to the pieces we will see over here without the deterioration, without the erosion. Since all this area was wooded, densely wooded, even more so than that area there, densely wooded, and unfortunately, by clearing this whole forest and all the debris around it, we started a new process of deterioration on the piece. This rock does not work well with running water over it. It washes, not as fast as the things that you find in the Petén and Yucatan, because it's not only lime. Around here we have things carved out of tufa, volcanic tufa or toba, trachyte, and it's a little harder than the lime that you get. Let us move inside. 8 things, and as you can see, the plaza is laid out north, south, east, and west, and the sun basically comes out and does an angle. We're in parallel 15 around here, so it does an angle like that to when it comes out in the east and goes out down in the west. So things are not necessarily aligned throughout the year. Let us come down No one place in Copan is known for specifically one thing. It was made only for one use. We know that it had multiple uses. But just to give you an idea, this plaza is an amphitheater. We had a platform in the middle, which was used as an observatory at some time, or as a podium other times. You could talk from up on top. You would sit as you are throughout this area over here. Hear this.
Oh, echo.
The acoustics are really good. Much better if you're up on top and talking to the side. Back then it would have been even better if we didn't have the grass nor the trees up on top. Got to remember that there was no trees in the area. They deforested the entire region, and there was stucco, basically floor in the area, and that would have given you a better resonance in the plaza. Many years ago, the archaeologists that were here were bothered by the positioning of the stela that we have in the area. if you'll notice, the positioning of the stela is asymmetric. And the Maya are known to be very symmetric. Whatever you have on one side, you'll normally have on the other. That's a rule of thumb. In this case, in this plaza, they lost it completely. Just to give you an idea, notice the stela H over here, and the grade. Notice the space. Notice the space from stela A to the grade over there. The whole plaza is kind of shifted to one side. The positioning of the plaza was shifted to one side. And very, very important because it tells you that the whole plaza is not in any kind of symmetry. There's a total of 9 stela in the plaza, which is also an odd number. You have 7 in the center, 1 above the graded area up on top, and 1 in the niche way back in there. The one up above the graded area is the 7th ruler of Copan. 7th ruler of Copan, known to us as Water Lily Jaguar. The one in the niche back here is the 12th ruler of Copan, known to us as Smoke Jaguar. And all 7 pieces in the center are the 13th ruler of Copan. 13th ruler of Copan is known to us as 18 Rabbits. 18 Rabbits.
What was the purpose of the stela?
The stela were basically billboards. In our modern terms, billboards, political billboards. They were there to show the guy, the ruler, as a god, and you would have things written in the back of events that were happening in the area. A little break. The gentleman that is walking around in there, you know who he is? You'll be in one of his sites at the end of this trip. His name is Jaime Awe. He's one of the, he's the archaeologist for Belize. And he's also here for the conference. The guy in the brown with the lady in blue. Yeah. Walking down the center. We have Le Creme of Le Creme in Copan today. Yeah. Well, for many years, the archaeologists thought that, well, the positioning was due to, the erratic positioning of the stela was due to the Maya trying to match a pattern of stars in the night sky. And for 20 years, basically, they tried to match it with the night, what we can see with the naked eye. Try to match it to any pattern of stars possible, unsuccessfully. It took a Honduran archaeoastronomer. He came around, from Vito Velez, he should be around since the things are laid out over here, who basically said, well, why don't we try to match it to the star we have on a daily basis around here, which is the sun. Everything is set up, north, south, east, and west, and basically came and drew these lines through opposing pieces, and found that some of them are marking the specific days of the year. There's always, for example, the solstice, the summer solstice is marked in three areas. The winter solstice is marked in 3 areas, and for some reason they always use the 3. You'll notice, for example, the position of the stela up on top over there, aligned with the stela over here. That same angle is used in this stela B with the orange line over here, and it is marked also with the in an angle with the building up on top and the stela area over there. All this marking a specific path or angle in the plaza. Very important because the entire plaza, which was done by the 13th ruler of Copan, was basically done in that way, crooked in some way at the very end, and with the stela and the way they are, just to mark these things in 3s.
What was the temperature variation in the seasons?
Back then,
yeah,
it was not very marked, which is one of the reasons why we would have ended up doing what we do right here. Just let me expand on that. In the north, outside the tropics, you have a very distinct fall when you see the leaves actually change color. You have a winter which will bring frost or snow. You have a spring that will thaw or bring the temperature down, and you have a summer which is hot. You know that most of your summer is used for agriculture. Well, around here we have 2 rainy and 2 sunny seasons. And because of that, we have to maximize our agricultural period and find out when that would be. You do so by counting days and seeing the elements around you that are constant. The sun is a constant item that you can mark from specific areas, and that way you know when the sun is coming through that area that it's the time to do your agriculture.
So 2 seasons, there really wasn't any access to the stars that much because it was overcast and cloudy.
Because of the rains.
Yeah.
Yes. So you would end up.
Is the plastic out here because of the plastic?
Yes. They're not they don't have them on a daily basis like
We're
this.
lucky.
You're very lucky, yes. Very lucky because they're going to be presenting. They did so yesterday, and I think they're going to do so this morning later on. They're going to present the alignments in the conference, and they're going to bring people out here to see. One of the reasons this is all out. The stela are very, very important also. As we were talking about, unique pieces that show the personages on them. The first one over there shows 18 Rabbit as Kanteahau, one of the sacred lords and patron gods of Copan. Kanteahau is a sacred tree lord. Basically, it's a saber tree. The figure in the middle is dressed as Bolong Kawilo, God 9 or 9 God. And he's dressed as a ball player. You'll notice that the altar is a round hamburger-looking piece. It looks like a little wimpy burger. And it is the only human sacrificial stone that we know of in Copan. That is human sacrifices, since we know that there was animal sacrifices, and most of these altars were used for that. We believe that on that piece, the game, which would end up with a human sacrifice, would be the person that would be sacrificed would be brought out into a common area or a public area to make this sacrifice public. And in this case, they would chop his head off. They would most likely go into his abdomen and pull his heart out. They don't open. This is a common misconception that they would actually chop into the rib cage. No, they go into the lower abdomen, go through the diaphragm, and pull the heart out through the bottom of the chest. And you've probably seen the chopping of the heads. That was also not true. We had blades that were made out of stone. We didn't have any metallic blades. So obsidian, which is very, very sharp, will cut flesh good, but when it hits bone, it will break. So you have to instead serrate heads off, not chop. Pardon? Very good question, because it is something that was done. They would pith the person down by putting a dagger in the base of the skull, basically making them go brain dead, and then they would have no resistance off this person.
Why did they, I mean, who was the lucky person?
In the ball game was a loser. I know you may have heard that if you've gone into the Yucatan, you probably heard it was a winner.
A real loser.
Throughout the years, many of the archaeologists have changed that theory just because they misread a mural in Chichen Itza. But there is still a faction of archaeologists that believe that they would do a game where the winner was going to be sacrificed. That is still up for grabs. But in Copan, we believe it was a loser. In Copan, we believe it was a game that got played. Pardon? That's one reason. Not only that, but if you kill the best every time,
Yeah.
you end up with a game that's no good. It outdoes itself, undoes itself. And
Do they bet on the game?
we know that the Maya did do bet. As a matter of fact, we have a group today which are the Tarahumara natives. Have you ever gone to Copper Canyon, Sierra Tarahumara?
Yes.
Those people live off the gambling. They do basically betting on the runners from the town. It's a very big thing. I mean, these people run for a living, truly. And a short run, in their case, is about 3-4 hours. A long run would be 2-3 days. And they not only run, but they kick a ball as they're running. And the only ways to lose is the other guy coming in before you, and or you losing your ball in the middle of the night, because they will run through the night. These are the same people that got banned from running the Colorado Ironman, because 5 of them went in and 4 of them brought all the prizes home. So, they run for a living.
Julio, in the game then there was just 2 men, not a team. But
No, there was 2 teams. In Copan, we believe that they could have been anywhere between 2 against 2 to up to 7 against 7, depending on what it was being played for. We find that is true in the Yucatan also, since the game got played in there. And who got killed? The entire team or just the captain? We don't know. It depended on what you were playing for. Depends, but twice. We have 4 different lineages within the same ruling family. Who knows? There's a lot we don't know.
would the losing, okay, you say they gambled their town, would the people who lived in the town, would they become slaves?
Yes. Or really didn't have much of a change. It was they would put their own ruling faction. The tributes were to that ruling faction. The Maya were no strangers to taxation. As a matter of fact, when the Spaniards came into the Yucatan area, they were surprised that they would when they told them, well, you're going to have to pay so much for living on the land and owning property. And immediately they organized themselves and they gave up one person to servitude, slavery basically, to the Spaniards to pay for the taxes on 20 people, 1 to 20. And the Spaniards were just blown off because they figured these people know what taxation is, have lived taxation all their life. It was something that it was very, very common. I would like for you to go around at this time and look at the different pieces. I kind of told you what the first two were. The first one in the roof is 18 Rabbit as Chak, lightning god. The one in the long roof is 18 Rabbit, young and old. Young to the east, old to the west. Sunrise, sunfall, life's death. Young, no beard, old, full beard, which is kind of odd since those natives do not have much in the way of facial hair. Yeah? Matter of fact, this is 3 years without shaving. As much as it'll get to. I've really tried, believe me. It won't close. Yeah? So, that one has a full beard and it's very oriental looking, so you might want to look at it. See? Very, very nicely done. It's got a very, very long beard with a nice mustache on it. The one at the very end is 18 Rabbit as the sun god. The one over here, which you can only see the back for, is very feline looking. The face is very feline looking, and it shows 18 Rabbit as Balam, or jaguar god. And lastly, over here, we have 18 Rabbit as a woman. She's dressed in a woman's outfit, who was, in this case, the corn goddess. Corn goddess. Some say out of the closet. He's dressed as a corn god in this case. please go around. You're welcome to climb over in this corner area to go on to the next area where we're going to be meeting in about 10 minutes. See him there? You've got a turquoise eyebrow.
Show them how to take the picture.
He's sitting on the limb at the very end over there. Got him, Janine?
I can live with it.
What do you say? Muck?
If you've seen the ones in the Yucatan especially, and the one in Chichen, this is totally different from the one in Chichen. They don't have rings, for one. The rings are a post-classic style game where you would actually put a ball through a hoop rather than hitting macaws, in this case, which are the 3 pins on top of the slant. If you move a little close on this side, you're able to see more of the ball play. The name of the game in this case was Pokatok. Pokatok. The object of the game is unknown, and anybody that tells you this is how the game was played is flat out lying to you. Why? Because they never saw the game played in the classic period. We did get the game seen during the post-classic time. This was seen by the Spaniards and recorded. They saw it in Chichen Itza. They say they saw a game where 7 against 7 played a game, and that they used a solid rubber ball about this size, because they described it as small as their smallest cannonball. So it was about this big around. Yeah? And they would hit the ball with their forearm, their shoulder, their chest, their hip, and their thigh, but mainly with the hip. Trying to orient this ball to hitting or going through this hoop, which would make them score a point. The game they saw ended with the first score. And they say nobody died in that game. They say that on the contrary, the winning team ran into the crowd and grabbed anything that they had on them that was ornamental. And that the crowd stood up and ran away. They didn't want their stuff taken. So why take it in the first place is the first question you get in your mind. Why would you go with the stuff if you don't want to get it taken? Because it was a social event. So that game was played as a social event, not a religious game. We believe that the game played religiously was more solemn and 5 against 5 in Copan, and we played a game that used the same body areas that are mentioned in Chichen, since in our 3 little altars that we found, they show the body areas padded. The body areas that I mentioned are padded. Plus, we have found 30-pound stone yokes that go on the hip to hit the ball with. Yeah. Around here, the markers show the ball being very, very large. As a matter of fact, it's believed to have been 8 to 12 pounds of solid rubber. Unlike anywhere else in the Maya world, these show the ball tethered from building to building, a rope, and from rope to ball, another rope, keeping it inbounds at all times. The reason for that really did not become apparent to us until 1993. In 93, we had the Ulama Players of Mexico, guys that come and play the game, to reenacted the game for National Geographic to play in this court. And if you come closer, you'll see that there's a grayed area on this side, and there's a graded area on the other side. Well, because they were filming this, they were filming it from up above, and they were not allowing anybody to sit in this area over here. So we sat in the nosebleed section way back there, and whenever the ball they brought was a 4-pounder, about this big around, similar to what they were using yesterday. Every time the ball would go out of bounds, someone in the crowd would try to stop it as if it were a soccer ball or pick it up as if it were a basketball. We had 3 broken ankles, 2 sprained, a broken nose, a broken wrist, and a split eyebrow in less than 3 hours play. Yesterday when they were playing, we had about 10 people in front of the crowd to basically block the ball if it went into the crowd, because it's really heavy. It's really heavy. It's a bouncing bowling ball in this case. So having it tethered would have kept it from hitting the elite in the area who would sit in this region. If you come closer, you'll see the game ground. This is where they play. Modern representations of the ball court, use the inclinations. They show people climbing onto these sides, but we do not believe it was the case in the true games played back then. The object of the game was to most likely hit the macaw heads on top of the slant, and that way score a point. At the end of a given time period, he who scored most won. He who didn't ended in the hamburger back there. You all saw the hamburger?
Yes.
You all saw the creases on top of that hamburger? Those creases, seen from up above, look like the yin and the yang. And if you get the blood flowing on those ends, we believe they got captured in both ends, either using cloth to soak the blood in or paper. Once this got dried on either or, you would burn either or. That'd be the cloth or the paper. That way burning the blood with. And the gods receiving their chu lao. Chu lao is force of life or soul by way of smoke. Yeah. Just in Guatemala alone, 53% of 13 million, which is the population of Guatemala, is indigenous Maya. 23 of the languages of the 28 that still survive today are spoken in Guatemala alone. So it's definitely, that's what I said, we call it, it's a misconception. We think that the Maya disappeared. They never did. And if they did want to do that, they didn't do a very good job because they're still around.
Julius, what's your heritage?
Pardon?
What is your, are you?
I'm Lenca. I am the Lenca. That is the slaves of the Maya, unfortunately. No, actually it's an indigenous group that had links with the late classic Maya people in this valley. We actually are from a little further in Honduras. Adjacent valleys to this one, we know were populated by the Lenca and had commerce with the Maya in this valley.
So Mayan, they had caste system also? Are you trying to refer to a caste system?
It is a caste system, but it's not a locked caste system. You can achieve a higher level by deed or by acquiring assets. Marriage, yeah, too. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this is the pride and joy of Copan. Stands 64 steps tall. It's got 1,250 blocks of stone on which they've carved close to 2,500 hieroglyphics. This is the longest text in stone in the Maya world. It's one of the longest texts in stone in the world, and the reason why Copan is a World Heritage Site. The reason I said that statement is because, as you noticed, we have been able to replicate a couple of pieces outside in the site. The only time we actually thought or hinted that we were going to do that with this piece, we got a call from World Heritage Foundation officers telling us that if we did, we'd lose our standing. So whatever we were to do to it, we had to do to it here, in situ. And that's why we had to put the tarp up. Because, unfortunately, the rock does not work well or does not withstand running water well. Whenever this was rained on, this created a huge waterfall. And it would just wash and wash and wash the hieroglyphs on. These 2,500 hieroglyphs that we have were had at one point in time were originally found on the ground. Only the first 14 lines were up, and the rest of the staircase had crumbled down to this area. When we put it back up in 1930, doing best could. Best could, unfortunately, was not good enough. We did not know how to read hieroglyphs back in 1930. Therefore, we put it up all mixed up. Nowadays, there is a position. And doing so, in doing so, they have acquired new technologies, one of which was digital pictures or digital imaging. And with that, it's even faster and easier because you don't have to move the rock. You know, and if nowadays, December last, we were given the progress in 25 years of how this piece would have looked like back in my time. What you see was reconstructed wrong. Yeah, wrong. The image of this particular piece should have a different type of decor on the side, and the inclination of this structure should be a lot more inclined. The problem is the building has settled because of the type of mortar used between the rock. In this case, using a type of mud as mortar. This is speaking of the greatness of Copan. This is basically a piece that was started originally by the 13th ruler of Copan, the 18 Rabbit God. And his beheading actually changes this piece from a political billboard to a statement of grandeur of the dynasty. This is basically to gloat and say how great they were. This is the on days of the Maya, not the off. This is the story of the last rulers of Copan, remembered by the 15th ruler of Copan, Buchit Latshan, or smoked conch shell. And if the centerpieces that follow were in correct order, we say that the one right behind them would be the 14th ruler, next one up missing, the 13th, next one up 12th, 11th, 10th, and 9th. We're missing 8 more to fulfill that dynasty. And the pieces that were missing up on top, we would probably say they're with 350 carved pieces of stone that were given by our government, given as a form of payment to the first archaeologists that came into the area. Harvard people, and the Peabody Museum, in this case, holds 350 carved pieces of stone given to them as a form of payment. So most likely those pieces are there. Only problem with that is that the only things that are being shown in the museum is the centerpiece that's missing here and a shield and a step that's in the lobby area. That's the only thing. So.